Rolling.
Hello, attendees of the special JazzApril online workshop discussion of March 13th, 2013. I'm Howard Mandel. I'm president of the Jazz Journalists Association, and we're going to talk tonight about the JazzApril media campaign, presentations, Jazz Hero selections, and parties. And we have as panelists Pauline Bilsky, who's the executive director of JazzBoston and has been involved with the Jazz Heroes and satellite parties for the JJA Jazz Awards in the past, and Dustin Garlitz, who has also been involved with satellite parties and Jazz Heroes in the past. Dustin is in Gainesville, Florida. So I see that we have about 11 attendees at the moment. And a couple quick notes. You can type in questions, and I will see them. And you could also ask to be recognized to speak. That will take us a minute or two to organize if we're going to let you talk. If you have something to contribute to the conversation, not opinion-oriented so much. We hope this is going to be a workshop tonight on specifics about getting proclamations from your mayors, about choosing how to support your jazz heroes locally, getting media, getting your constituents to serve as media makers themselves, and some of those kinds of issues. So I'm going to actually begin with the media director of the Jazz Journalists Association and our incredible web master, that's Joanne Kaywell, who wants to talk a little bit about the JazzApril website. But I will give you, wait a minute, Joanne, sorry, let's let Pauline and Dustin both say hi so that everybody's voices can be heard by our attendees. Pauline, say hello.
Okay, hi. Hi, everybody.
Well, you can say more than hello.
That was loud for me. Can you? Okay. Well, that was loud for me. I don't speak very loudly, but can everyone hear me?
Yeah, we're fine.
Yep.
And Dustin, do you want to say hello too?
Sure. Hello, everyone. This is Dustin Garlitz from sunny Gainesville, Florida. Hope everyone's doing well tonight. And I'm looking forward to helping anyone that I can with my experience that I have in music, playing music, promoting, and organizing satellite parties. And we have an excellent one here in Gainesville, so I can give you tips on how to get in touch with the press. Hopefully, if I can be of most help tonight, maybe on that one issue, how to deal with the press.
Okay, great. That's great. So, Joanne.
I see I was too brief, yes.
We'll give you
we've had a lot of fun doing our satellite parties each year, and it's been a great pleasure to recognize people who, well, in the first one we did to recognize someone who was really a fixture in the community but had never really been recognized. And so there's a whole lot of satisfaction in doing it, and I also can give you some suggestions for dealing with government and getting recognition for that person.
Excellent, thank you. We're going to draw on both of your expertises. And now, Joanne Kaywell, your expertise.
Okay. We should have mentioned, our apologies. We did plan to have a third panelist, our councilman from Cleveland. Unfortunately, he had a schedule conflict, and so he wasn't able to make it. And we weren't at the last minute able to get anybody else to take his place. But we think we have plenty of expertise here anyway. So, we will fill the time nicely. Anyway, what I wanted to do was to show you the JazzApril website, because this is the place that a lot of what you're doing is going to be, you're going to find a lot of information here that you need. It's a good place to direct people to that you're working with to get information. And unlike past years when the Jazz Heroes and the satellite parties were both sort of centered around the Jazz Awards, which again this year are part of what you're doing. The Jazz Heroes are officially part of the JJA Jazz Awards for 2013, but we are this year folding them into what we're calling the JazzApril campaign. And hopefully you've heard about that already, but just to give you a really brief introduction to it, the Smithsonian National Museum of American History for the last few years has been promoting what they call Jazz Appreciation Month in April, and they've mostly done that with museums and cultural institutions. We're trying to expand that a little bit to get work with the Smithsonian and have Jazz Appreciation Month in the month of April extend even further to be, to radio stations, to businesses, to organizations, to anybody who wants to take part in it. And UNESCO, as you probably know, has been working with the Thelonious Monk Institute of Jazz to put on a big splash on the 30th of April for what they're calling International Jazz Day. They did that last year at the United Nations, and this year they're going to have a live webcast from Istanbul, Turkey. So that's kind of a highlight and a big, grand, splashy end to the month. And we want to pull those two things together. We're calling it JazzApril. You don't have to use that term. If you just want to say April is Jazz Month, that's great. In some places, that's a little tricky too. For instance, Pauline maybe can talk about the fact that they have a Jazz Week that starts the first week of May. But as much as possible, we want everybody to sort of think of April as being a whole month of celebration of jazz. And if you go to this website, you're going to find a couple things. I really hope you can take a look at it after the webinar, but just to point out a couple of the things that you'll find, go to the live site now. One of the things that we really want everybody who's involved with any of the activities that we're promoting to do is to use social media and to talk about their own events on social media and to talk about it kind of using the grand title of JazzApril or Jazz Day, or the Smithsonian's official hashtag is Celebrate Jazz Appreciation Month, Celebrate Jam. So you'll find those hashtags here whenever you use Twitter to talk about your events. It's really good to use one of those or more of those hashtags, and if you do, you will automatically show up on this JazzApril site right down here. Every tweet from no matter who it comes from will get picked up if it has that hashtag, and it'll show up here.
Excuse me. Will that also show up on widgets that are on other sites like the Jazz Day site?
That depends on what hashtags they choose to put into their widgets. That's kind of a whole different question. If people are really interested in the whole Twitter question or the widgets and all that, we can talk about that some other time. But let me ask you here, you may see on your little widget that you have a place where you can raise your hand. How many of you that are here use Twitter, know how to use Twitter and personally use it? Raise your hand if you do.
1, Jerry
2,
Say, Joe Harrison,
3.
Susan Brink, and George Rivera. And okay.
James Hale's not copying to it, but he does, I know. Okay, that's pretty good.
Are you asking panelists too?
Sure. Jerry.
Yeah, I don't see where to raise my hand, but we do.
I don't think you can, Pauline. Do you? Do you tweet?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
well,
sure.
We'll link it to our Facebook page, which may not be optimal, but make sure that the first 140 or so characters of that says something that will make sense on Twitter.
Right.
I don't do it separately very often.
Okay.
We don't have the resources to do it.
Uh-huh. Well, it's a good thing, and I would encourage everybody, because this is important both for the parties that you're doing and to make you part of the loop that we all want to be part of the same kind of grand thing. And one of the ways we can do that is by, all tweeting about our own events and using the hashtag so it all shows up in the same place. What will happen, even if it's not on people's widgets on their websites, is that for people who search on Jazz Day or search on the hashtag JazzApril, is all of your tweets will show up. It's kind of an automatic search function. And again, I don't want to get too much of the details of it. It seems like a lot of you already know that. If you don't, write me and maybe we can have a workshop on that. But every year that goes by, it becomes more and more important as a way of publicizing your stuff. The other thing is, please do go to our page, our Facebook page, if you're not already a liker, a friend of our Facebook page, because we are posting a lot of stuff about JazzApril there, and also do follow our Twitter account, which is Jazz. It's kind of strange, but if you go to the JazzApril website, you'll see the name of the page. We had to get one that wasn't just JazzApril because somebody already has that. So it's _JJA, which is awkward, but once you've followed that, you don't have to type it in anymore. So the other thing is
the Facebook page is Jazz Journalist. Facebook Jazz
yeah.
Journalist.
If you do, like I say though, you don't need to write down all that stuff. Just go to jazzapril.com and you'll find it all right here in this little box. And as it'll also tell you, we're going to try to get everybody starting on April 1st to use one of those little ribbons on their Facebook and Twitter avatars. You'll get information about that, in a couple of weeks, but that is something that we're going to want you to encourage people to do too, again, just so that it gives kind of a sense that we're all doing the same thing and that we're all part of the same campaign, even though we're working in our own local communities. The other thing you'll find on the website here, again, and also if you need to steal text, if you have to write a press release about what JazzApril is or anything like that, you can do that on here. I'm having a hard time scrolling because I have this little widget in the way. But the other thing on this site is that it's set up with information, with separate pages that people can, of things people can do to participate if they're a musician. This is for organizations and businesses, which probably means you. We'll be talking a lot about these kinds of things. For journalists, for broadcasters, for educators and teachers, which doesn't just mean music teachers or educators, but every kind of teacher, and local governments, which we'll also be talking about tonight. But if you go to these different pages, what they mostly consist of is long lists of things, the concrete kinds of things that people can do to be involved in the campaign, like using tweeting and being involved in the social media, but also for the musicians, it says, when you're on stage, be sure you mention that April is Jazz Month and things like that. For the businesses, it says things like if for instance, if you have a bookstore, you can set up a display of jazz books. I'm not going to go through the whole list of things, but you'll find those on the website. For the teachers, it also has some links to various kinds of jazz curriculums, which again, they're more social studies or humanities curriculums. They're not specifically musical curriculum, and so they're not just for music teachers. The other thing that I want to point out to you here that's on the site is once you start getting into publicizing your own activities, you're going to want to, we hope, use some of the logos and the graphics from us, from JazzApril, and also from Jazz Appreciation Month and Jazz Day. And all of those are here on the site. You can download them from here. They're in various formats, and you can use them in different combinations. There's some you can use for print, and there's some you can use for online. So if you're not a graphics person, just tell your graphics person that they're here, and they're all linked in to, there are links here to the sites, to the Smithsonian site and to the Jazz Day site. But we think that, among those, you should be able to find pretty much the graphics you need to make whatever you're producing, your print stuff or your online stuff, look like, again, like it's part of the same thing. And also, just one last thing is that the Smithsonian has a poster, which is kind of a nice poster for 2013 Jazz Appreciation Month, and all you have to do is email them and ask for a copy or copies. They're free, and you might want to get some of those for your event. So,
or to distribute to other people who you're trying to.
Yeah.
involved in this.
It might be nice, for instance, to have them in a school or something. So again, just there's the promote your events via Twitter. The last thing I want to say is that it's, you're probably not quite ready to do that yet, but just keep in mind that once you start doing things, if you're in an organization that has an event, please send us photos or short videos of your events, and they don't have to be, right, just shots of the performance, but show us the audience, show us the surrounding neighborhood, show us the context that jazz is happening in your community. And I'll put those on Facebook, I'll tweet about them, that's all you have to do is send them to me. So keep that in mind. We did do that last year with the satellite parties, and the quicker you can get them to me, of course, the more useful it is. If you have a display in a store or something for Jazz Month, just stand in front of it, have somebody stand in front of it. Maybe you can find a musician to stand in front of it and take a picture and send it to me, and I'll put it on the Facebook page. So that's it.
One thing that we should make clear, Joanne, is that if you are taking photos at your events and you have a sponsor for the event, include the sponsors somehow in some of those photos. We want to recognize that our sponsors are actively supporting this. For instance, Brother Thelonious Ale, if Brother Thelonious is able to deliver ale to your event, please take a photo of somebody drinking one of those bottles, and we can put that up. And Brother Thelonious has been extremely good to the JJA. We're very happy to have them involved, and their ale always makes for good parties. So that's a further. I think that we will try to recap some of these ideas at the end of this webinar. I think there's going to be a lot of information that's coming out, so you'll probably hear the same information a couple times, and that maybe will get it to stick in your mind. So let's move to somebody who has produced successful satellite parties in Boston and has made really good connections with City Hall and with the press, the local press, both print and radio. So that I'm going to start with Pauline. There you are.
Hi, Howard. So I can kind of give you a list of the kinds of things we've gotten for Jazz Week and then the kinds we've gotten for individuals and tell you how we got them. For example, we've gotten a proclamation from the Boston Mayor's Office every year for Jazz Week starting in 2007. So we're coming up to our 7th year, and we're just requesting that now. The second, in 2009, we got a proclamation from the Cambridge Mayor's Office. We're in a big metropolitan area, and I think anyone who is in one might want to think about other, smaller cities that are right next to them and get more than one proclamation. And they were very approachable and cooperative in Cambridge. And then we added Somerville the next year, and the Somerville mayor is a jazz musician, and they have their own jazz festival, so they were also very open. They both were more open to jazz than Boston's mayor. We got a proclamation from the governor in 2011 and 2012,
Let me see.
And I think we will again.
Yeah, I think this is it, right?
Yeah, that was
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we got that the first year. Well, I'll get into how, but so and then for our jazz hero, the first jazz hero we nominated was Eleanor Walcott, and I don't know if anyone has heard of Wally's, but it's probably one of the older jazz clubs and certainly the oldest black-owned one in New England and maybe the country. I don't know, but she she's the matriarch of the family now and the daughter of Wally's who founded it. And we managed to get her a governor's citation and a citation from the Massachusetts State Senate and a resolution from the Boston City Council. And then we did something similar. This wasn't, this was not a jazz hero, but it was someone that we honored at our own annual Members and Friends Appreciation Party. So it was the same process. A terrific musician, minister, band leader who's been on the scene for 44 years. And here we went a little overboard because he was so modest. And we got him a proclamation. His name is Mark Harvey. We got him a proclamation of Mark Sumner Harvey Day, both in Cambridge and in Boston. And then the Boston City Council gave him the key to the city of Cambridge. So we were those were big hits. Of course, those people were extremely happy. And other kinds of things we've gotten from the city and the state that might be relevant. The city has been very good about giving. Our city does not give us any. We get very little money unless we apply for a grant. But they're very good about giving us publicity. They have a magazine called the Ops magazine with a Boston accent. They have a city arts calendar. They will publish, any of our events and anything we have in that. The library, Boston Public Library, which is the city, will distribute any distribute any flyers we have and put some events on their website. Let's see. We can get free space for public events, at the Boston Public Library. The city has offered us a portable stage. I don't know if your cities have things like that available, but things that don't cost them much money, we can get more of. So, should I stop and give someone else a chance, or say something about how we got some of these things?
No, let's talk about how you actually got them.
Well, can we take a step backwards first, Pauline? I'd like to ask you a question. What made you think, first of all, that it was a good idea to do this? Because I think, for a lot of people in the jazz community, having an official proclamation might not be the first thing that would come to their mind as something that they want to put their time into. But it is important. So, what made you think
that with Jazz Week,
the
whole purpose of Jazz Week was to make people aware of what a great jazz scene we have in Boston, not just that it was glorious in the past, but that it's great in the present. So we really needed as much visibility for what we're doing as we could get. And we thought that would have some impact. We put it on all our publicity that we had it. We were very impressed with it the first time we got it. We didn't realize that it wasn't that hard to get. But we put it on our brochures and on our posters and everything else. And I think it gave us some visibility, and in the other cities it did. That basically is our main purpose, is to get visibility for the scene here and to keep it growing, at a time where there's lots of challenges, as you all know. And our other is to connect the whole parts of the scene. The reason we wanted the publicity, not the proclamations, well, the proclamations for the individuals, and in fact the Jazz Hero event, it was, as I said, extremely satisfying to recognize someone and bring the whole community together. It gave us an opportunity to bring people from all over the community together at the event, at the party. But it also was very good for us. It gave us an opportunity to get publicity for the organization. And I knew that it would be from the beginning, so I was really happy that it could serve all of our purposes. It taught us onto the names page of the Boston Globe, which is our biggest paper. The first time we were ever on it, I think was when we honored Eleanor Walcott, and they sent a photographer, and it got us going with a relationship with them. So it's very helpful to us too.
This is an important point. We're not just doing this so that we can praise Jazz Day or even Jazz Month, but it is an opportunity to get into the public eye and to build that relationship with the public, really the general public, by using general media and just putting the name of jazz out there here, and using the leverage of having these big events, International Jazz Day and Jazz Appreciation Month, but to be able to come back to them, they say, you recognize us and we're doing something now, and we're doing something later, we're doing something in August, we're doing something in November, and to start those conversations going with City Hall, with your local media representatives, with your local jazz fans, and the people who they're going to turn on to jazz. We want to keep using this media to go out to get other people involved in promoting what we're doing, what you're doing. So it just makes it grow exponentially if you can do that. Pauline, I'm curious, did you have photos with Jazz Heroes and city officials or anything like that? Did having a photo op of that sort get you more visibility?
One of those photos appeared I guess one of them appeared on in the Globe, and once on their website. Did that help? Well, you know, and we put them on our Facebook page, and they get lots of attention there. We build albums and got lots of attention through. You know, every time we do an album, we get a lot of attention to our website page. I don't know with the general public. You know, it's hard to know how many people saw them, but I think they were helpful.
Do you organize to have photographers of you there? I mean, do you organize a photographer to get there? If you're going to build an album?
Yeah, we've always tried to. Well, it's in the past, a lot of those have been amateur shots. In fact, I've taken a lot of them, and they could certainly be better. But we've had a couple times we've had professional photographers, and when the first few got tired of doing it, we now have an arrangement with one where it's a pro bono arrangement, and we make sure his credits appear everywhere, and we build the album, you know, on Facebook with his credit everywhere, and we thank him as visibly as we can. So he's getting a lot of visibility, and he can pass out his card at the events, and he can sell photos to people who want more of them. So that's worked out the last few times. We're going to try to have him for the satellite party.
Excellent.
If that answers your question.
Good.
But we've always tried to get a professional when we could for the events, for the big events, without paying.
Should we switch over to Dustin and get a little bit of your experience with this now?
Well, let's have Pauline talk about as she started to the process of getting these proclamations, which will be different in each place a little bit, but you know, there's going to be some similarities. So how did you go about doing this, Pauline, specifically for the city of Boston?
Well, the first time we asked for one, we met with the head of the office, the mayor's office of arts, tourism, and cultural affairs, but we found, and one of our board members knew that person, and the person was new, but we found right away that it was much easier to get a mayoral proclamation than we thought it was, and that, you know, some mayors in fact will proclaim just about anything. As you know, as I mentioned to you, like in New York City, there's an expression that a grand jury will indict a ham sandwich, and some mayors really will proclaim just about anything reasonable. And our mayor is not a big jazz fan, but he does care about cultural tourism. That's a big hot button. So, and the jazz does draw that. So we got the first one without a whole lot of difficulty from them. But what we also discovered is, well, you want to ask for it way ahead of time, but I guess that's obvious if it's the mayor's office. And you also want to make it as easy for them as possible. We provided a complete draft every time. They were very happy we offered to do it, and they were extremely happy to have that. And they rarely changed. They changed almost nothing. You know, we got one of theirs to follow their format. You know, which you see here. You know, which is basically a whole lot of whereases and, you know, and then a be it therefore or something like that. And I guess most city ones probably look a lot like that. But all you have to do is ask for one, you know, and then follow it. So you can basically have them say what you want them to say, as long as you're thinking about, you know, their sensitivities as well. I think that's, you know, the other things we got, because we really built relationships with some members of the city council. And I think if you don't have a mayor who loves jazz, and it may also be faster to go through the city council. They're in Boston. I think they're more responsive. They move a lot faster. You know, they're there to serve you, and they want to be perceived as serving you, and they do care about the community. And we've gotten a great response from them. We've gotten to know a lot of them simply by, you know, going just about everywhere. You know, where some of them are being honored in community events that they're going to appear at, things like that. That's basically yeah.
But the first time you went to the mayor's office, you found the cultural affairs officer, is that right? Because that's what we're suggesting that people do, and that worked pretty well for you?
Sure. Well, they were pretty happy to do it as long as you gave them enough time, and you made it easy for them. There was really no problem or no difficulty at all, nor was there with Cambridge or Somerville.
Well,
there's no problem doing that. The problem is if you want money, that's a different situation.
Jay Westbrook, our city councilman in Cleveland, who's been very supportive of the Tri-C Jazz Festival, also said that going to the city council can be faster than going to the mayor's office directly. In Philadelphia, we're working with Gary Stewart, who's a chief cultural officer of Michael Nutter's administration, and Nutter is a big jazz fan and also recognizes the economic impact of jazz. So we're urging people to ask in their proclamations that among the whereases it would say something about the cultural influence of jazz and the economic impact of jazz, as well as talking about International Jazz Day and Jazz Appreciation Month. I think we said, Joanne, that we're going to post
Yes.
Pauline.
These are difficult to read, I know, and so I'm going to make a PDF package of these, some other things that people have sent us as examples, and also the U.S. Conference of Mayors has their own resolution, which I think has really good language in it that you can steal for the whereases. And so I'll put those all together and send you a link to those within a couple of days. And also make it available on the website. So you should just be able to cut and paste and put together a proclamation for yourselves to take to your city council or your mayor's office.
We also have a volunteer, a guy named Jason, is it White, who works with CEOs for the cities, and he volunteered today to help us carry the water proclamation-wise to cities if we needed special help, and that he was quite good at getting special help. So, you know, Susan Brink is going to work on which cities need that kind of assistance, but Jason might be able to be very useful in helping to organize this proclamation bit also. So why don't we turn to Dustin and ask a little bit about what he started to volunteer working with media, working with the local media.
Okay, so here in Gainesville, we have a New York Times affiliate. We had a paper that was owned by the New York Times, and now it's independent. And it's our largest newspaper here in Gainesville. And so I developed a relationship with the entertainment editor last year and was really able to get a lot of exposure for the party. I was able to, one thing that I would say is if you have a date already, get it to them as soon as possible. Space is limited, and they need to know ahead of time when it's time for this party to happen and to really get it out there. Like at least you know, the week before, they should have all the info that they will need to run a story. And because I gave them all of that info with so much time last year, when it was time for the party to come up, which was on a Thursday, well, when the paper came out, the online subscribers Monday morning received notice of the party as the first story on the online subscription. And so this is a university town here. We have the University of Florida with over 50,000 enrolled. And so a lot of people get their news online here. We have people, we work by email and we work by internet. And so this way they were able to log on and know what's happening in the week ahead. And so it made for a better attendance, you know, at the party on Thursday, and also helped get the party out there in the press further. And there's one way of working within the city and city media, such as a newspaper, the Gainesville.com being the Gainesville Sun, which is the New York Times affiliate I was talking about, and that became independent. And so I worked with this entertainment editor, and when you're getting information and you're passing along information, it's better to, usually in publishing, people use email, and that's just the way it works. And so if they want to call you and speak to you, they will, but you don't necessarily have to call them. You just need to get them all the details by email in a timely manner. And so we were honoring last year Gary Langford, who was a professor and the founding director of jazz studies at the University of Florida. And so this was someone who had quite a reputation in this city, being, you know, University of Florida being a major institution, and the jazz studies program originating from him and his arrival at the university, and then him being named Professor of the Year at the university over the course of his academic career. And these are big honors, and so the city had respect for that. And you know, in addition to just naming a jazz hero, you're naming someone, you know, from the largest employer in Gainesville, the university. And so if any of you out there who are working in cities that house a notable university or a large college or several, or this is one way to look at it. If your hero is coming from these resources and from a, you know, academic institution, then there's a certain amount of respect that's already that they have. And for instance, in Nielsen rankings, the most respected profession after a doctor is a professor. And so in the media, these are the rankings the media goes by. That's what the Nielsen rankings are, and marketing and all of that. And so you have that additional respect, and then jazz in itself being, you know, such a lively cultural theme, and being America's music. Or if you're in another country, last year we did something with Auckland, New Zealand, and we had exposure in Ottawa, Canada. This is a great opportunity to promote jazz there and show that it's a living language, and that in one way the jazz heroes really show that the regionalism of the music, and each region having its own sort of jazz hero known for something in that community. And then we'll follow up this year in June with the national awards. Last year was a little different, but in Gainesville this year we're having parties for both. I just spoke to my jazz hero today, and so we named the date of the party for his Jazz Hero Award. So now I'm turning to the entertainment editor once again this year, and I'm going to work with him. But then, like I was saying earlier, you work within the city, but also in Florida, we're a major state for jazz, and so once I started getting the word out on Twitter and starting getting the word out other places in the paper, other people were contacting me, and I was able to communicate with others. Like at the state level, we have a newsletter in Florida, Jazz Florida, and so, you know, they're very interested in having this information. They work on a month-to-month basis. So if your party's in April, you know, make sure to contact them by the end of the month if you have something like that in your state. Also, with the like I was mentioning earlier, at the city level and with the region level and the county level, with the newspaper, that photo they used right there on the screen was a stock photo they had from a University of Florida production. I had given them my information, my details, my photos, but they went with what they had first. And then as the week progressed, they started putting up other things each day. As the party drew closer, they were able to use some of my media that I was bringing onto them. And so they used something that the community was familiar with to start with on a Monday. Is what you see there, that University of Florida theatrical production that Gary Langford was part of. And then they moved into my media, and also the jazz hero can promote him or herself. And this is what musicians do. This is even the best of the musicians, even at the national level. Trust me, they do this on a day-to-day basis, and that's the life of a musician, and it's the life of a writer, and and the media appreciates this and realizes this is a reality. And so when you're dealing with press, sometimes it really doesn't hurt to back down and be very organized and get everyone information and details and on a timely basis. If you're really organized, you can really make an impact. And so for some of you out there with major newspapers, if you're throwing a party this year on a Thursday, possibly your entertainment section comes out then, so you can that's like the start of the weekend there. And so if you're going to have a Saturday night party, it needs to be in that Thursday paper, Thursday night party in that Thursday paper. And this is how we were working in Gainesville this year, and we decided to do it on a Thursday night again. And so, of course, that whole week we want to plug the party, and then finally when the weekend edition comes out, that everyone already knows about it. It's public knowledge, it's common knowledge earlier in the week, and so when they see it, the full write-up in the weekend edition, then entertainment section, then everyone's ready to attend and other people will pick it up. We were talking about photographers earlier, and I had a lot of photographers at my party last year for my Jazz Hero, and I wasn't necessarily booking all of these people. I just got the word out, and people, press just started arriving, and that's, the beauty of press. And so if in this situation,
or the ugliness,
it got picked up in other places, like a magazine that the city of Gainesville, a magazine popular with the city of Gainesville. So after the party, we had that appear on Facebook first, in the magazine's page, or on their page, and then when it came out in print, the party was represented in the print magazine later that month, or if it takes 2 to 3 weeks later for it to come out, depending on the magazine when it's coming out and all of that. And so, one way to think about things is, city, municipality, county, all of that, and then, or state. If you have someone who's really major, you're honoring as a Jazz Hero, you can go for it at a national level, possibly. You could maybe try to email one of the editors or associate editors of one of the major jazz magazines. We have one in Florida that's one of the 3 major ones. And, this is one way to go, but thinking about it this way and thinking ahead, being ahead of the game really helps. And the press will appreciate that if you give them ample time.
Dustin, could I ask Dustin one question first? Dustin, I think one thing that people who haven't done this before are a little intimidated by is you say develop, and Pauline too, develop a relationship with the entertainment editor or the people at your local press. Well, how do you start doing that? What did you do, first Dustin and I guess then Pauline, to, you sent them an email, but what did you say to make them open and that you weren't just one more press release in a million? How did you start that relationship?
Well, first, it's very good to acknowledge or introduce yourself as working with the Jazz Journalists Association. Explain, and it's not necessary to go straight for the editor if you're in a major city. Maybe just an editorial assistant or someone who's going to get to the editor at a weekly meeting or even a daily meeting possibly. But let them know about the Jazz Journalists Association. Let them know that there are national awards, and this is part of that cycle of the award ceremony, and that your city has been chosen as a city that's going to honor a hero in this cycle that's taking place this year. And earlier years so last year we had 2012, we had certain cities involved. Well, the year before, the Associated Press picked up the story in 2011, and so, already you're working off of a reputation, a pre-existing reputation. So when you get in touch with the entertainment crew there at your local newspaper, then introduce the hero and tell them exactly who your hero is, the contributions he or she has made to their community. And if they're attached to a university, that usually helps, like I was mentioning earlier. And so if it's a university professor, let them know this, and that broadens the readership when you see something like that. It's not just about entertainment, but it's educational in a certain way. I tried to, working with that entertainment editor last year, I wanted to let him know, that this professor, taught a history of jazz course that so many students at the University of Florida took over the years and introduced them to the music. And so when they see something like that, that you're talking more than just entertainment. And so it almost, if certain papers have life sections, lifestyle, it crosses over a little bit, but if you're working with someone in entertainment, let them know that you're coming from the Jazz Journalists Association right away, that we have national awards, and they've covered it in their papers possibly before. The national awards, in my local paper, it made it in the years before, whether it be Sonny Rollins or Joe Lovano, or it had been in the paper. And so you can let them know, well, this is someone in your city who's representing that organization or is working with that organization to honor someone. And so that's one way to work with them. And if you have press releases from the JJA, naming the cities that we already had one that came out this year that mentioned certain cities, you should show that to them. You should definitely show that to these this editorial staff in entertainment.
Let me break in here. We are announcing officially the Jazz Heroes on April 1st, but you folks all know who your heroes are now, and that's so that you can talk. Or I think most of you know who your heroes are now, and so you're talking to the heroes. It's not a secret from them. You are, as Dustin says, trying to enlist them in promoting their own awards. They will like to do that. Let their families know. Their families will like to do that. Let their employees know. It's not only universities that are highly regarded within these communities. If your jazz hero is a medical caregiver, that's very good. These are also human interest stories. There are stories that are associated with any institution that's in the town that the hero might be involved with. If they are a presenter from a major arts center, if they're a club owner, if they are a reed manufacturer, instrument repairman, anything, just try to contextualize them. And I think that that's a way that journalists like to try to approach it. It's not, you're giving them a reason, something to talk about, and it's more of a full portrait. You guys are going to get us, the JJA, brief bios and photos of the heroes in advance so that that material can be published when we announce all of the jazz heroes on April 1st. So you'll have bios in hand. So those are things that you can give to these journalist contacts locally, as Dustin's saying. I would suggest, instead of worrying about going to the editor of Downbeat or Jazz Times or Jazz Is, for instance, although Jazz is close to Dustin, that you try to find reporters who are in your area, stringers, if you will, and see if they'll carry that story. In the case of Jazz Times, they publish almost a blog publicly, and they're hungry for content. So if you have a jazz hero, you can probably get it online in the their blog, but you'll probably have to write it yourself. So that's something that you'll have to organize. Susan Brink is reminding me that bios and high-resolution photos are due on Friday. So if you don't have your jazz hero, please step on it. And we've got to collect this information. It takes Joanne a few days at least to get that material up on the website. And when it goes up on the website, it's going to look fabulous because you've got strong bios that will be signed. Those bios should be endorsements by somebody who's taking responsibility for the hero in your local community. and the photograph also. So we'll do a little bit of editing if necessary on those bios, but you know, try to give us the reasons why these people are vital and contributive, and we can go from there. And that's the same information you're going to be giving the press. It's the same information in a boiled down manner that you're going to be giving on Facebook, and also don't forget radio, even television locally, any other formats that I'm not thinking of. The posters, I would guess in some smaller towns, if you walk around with a Smithsonian poster and go to your club, go to your record store, maybe the bookstore, and say, will you put this up? It's Jazz Appreciation Month. You know, it's not coming from you, so you're selling something. It's coming from the Smithsonian. And it's a colorful, nice poster, and maybe they'll do it. So write to them and ask for a half a dozen, you know, and tell them that you're trying to support Jazz Appreciation Month. That's why you need so many. They'll like that.
I wanted to jump in here too and say one of the things that we are suggesting to the journalists is when they're pitching stories that they try to tie their local stories, and you can be doing this too when you're pitching your story about your jazz hero or your party, to the overall Jazz Month, and especially to International Jazz Day. Even if your thing is not happening on Jazz Day, you can say this is a month that's going to end with this big international thing, and it's going to be webcast, and it's going to have Herbie Hancock and a whole list of other, you know, high-profile jazz musicians, and that's a way that you can get them to understand that this is something that's has a profile and that they do want to cover. It's got, you know, what's called the news hook or the news peg to this international, national kind of celebration and thing that's going to happen, and there's a local hook, and they like that too. So that's something else you should mention to them. If the Jazz Journalists Association has prestige, you know, Herbie Hancock has even more.
And this is also something that you can give to the people who are coming to your parties, presumably. You know, Jazz Day, that website, has been urging people to have viewing parties so that they get together and watch the webcast from Istanbul. And that's a nice idea. Even if you're having your presentation party for your jazz hero 2 weeks ahead of time, you know, say, and let's go back to B Sharp's in Tallahassee, for instance, to watch Istanbul presentation and concert. I think maybe Jerry Say would like that. And, you know, again, it's a way of continuing to build up the activities during the month, focusing on the jazz fans, trying to enlist them, you know, so that they say, yeah, let's go see that jazz party, and let's get a couple other people to see that webcast also. And we're just trying to build the jazz audience here by letting more people know about what fun this music is and what it means locally and what the impact is, and to try to, you know, enlist them, seduce them, bring them along. Pauline, did you have a question?
Howard, you know, I just wanted to say that we did have a party like that last year for the day of the concert at the UN, and we found a venue that it was Daryl's place that was willing to host the party and provide free apps, and we subsidized it a little, and he got a lot of bar business, and he had a very big screen, and the people loved it. There were maybe 40 people who loved watching that together. We got letters of gratitude afterwards because it just meant so much to be watching it with others from the jazz community.
That's great.
You know, and we got the venue for free, basically. You know, and he got people buying drinks.
Jerry Say in Tallahassee.
I was going to say.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say something about getting press coverage, but I can wait till you.
Oh, well, Jerry just wrote, yeah, she would very much like that to be able to have that party, you know, a few days later or something. And as I say, she's a club owner in Tallahassee. So go ahead, Pauline. Continue.
Well, I was going to say a little perverse, but we introduced ourselves to the editor of the Arts and Leisure section at the Globe basically by attacking them, and it worked very well because we are a jazz advocacy organization, the only one around, and we've gotten to be very known for that, especially since we've been leading a campaign since WGBH, our main arts and culture station, is now a talk station, since they dropped almost all of their jazz last June, and we've been leading a campaign to find some solutions to that. But we wrote a letter. The Globe did their winter roundup, arts roundup, and they never once even mentioned the word jazz. It didn't appear anywhere in that section on that Sunday, and we wrote a letter that I signed about that, and 2 weeks later actually had a letter back from the editor of the Arts and Leisure section. What it came down to was she invited us to let them know when something noteworthy was going on in the jazz community, and which we will do with the Jazz Hero event. I'm about to do that, and we'll do it with with Jazz Week as well in our radio campaign. But I was very impressed that Dustin got so much advance coverage, because it's been very difficult to get advance coverage here. What we found is by going to the social pages, which Dustin mentioned, we've gotten the most coverage that way, but it's always been right after the event. And we've told them about the event, and we've emphasized who would be there and everything that would impress them, and they've sent a photographer of their own. We've had ours, but they've sent one, and then we get something the day after. And that does get a lot of recognition for the person and for jazz and for JazzBoston, because everyone who reads the Globe looks at that page. People like to see them, see people. So that's where we got it. The coverage we've gotten before has only been when we had, it wasn't a Jazz Hero, but when we've given a tribute to someone very, very, very well known, or really beloved in the community. And the person that drew the most advanced coverage was our jazz radio host, Eric Jackson, who he's considered, they call him the Dean of New England Jazz Radio and the Dean of Jazz Radio, period. Well, Howard knows him very well. I don't know how many people outside Boston know him, although his program is heard all over. But there we got coverage before, because we honored him and we gave him our biggest award, and all kinds, the papers ran big things on him, and they invited him on TV, and he was all over. But that's because he was so well known. It's very hard for us to get advance coverage.
I wonder if there's anything to do to try to
jazz coverage anyway.
I wonder if there's anything to do to try to appeal to younger audiences also. And I think maybe by enlisting educators, not at the college level where they're speaking to other college professors, but within the high school level, to say, come to our party, bring some of your best students. We'd like to get to know them, and maybe that would be a way to help build up that audience that we're having so much trouble reaching also. The educators are a good piece of this, and we've tried to encourage Jazz Education Network, Jen, to promote JazzApril. I think they are promoting Jazz Day, and I'm in continuing conversation with the secretary, Monica Herzig, to see if she will be able to get Jen to be a little bit more active. But that's a group that has direct ties also to students who are taking jazz classes, learning instruments. If they're learning it, probably their brothers or sisters and parents and aunts and uncles know about this. So that's a way, again, to inflate the audience and get those kids themselves maybe to Facebook about it, to tweet about it, to say, this is kind of cool, come along, and let's try to do this. I'll take questions also. If anybody has them, please ask. And if you want to talk, we'll try to put you on live. Some of the attendees, we don't know, and we don't know if you're planning to host jazz parties or put on jazz heroes. I'd say Bob Jacobson, Dennis Doherty, and George Rivera. I'm not sure if you're doing anything, and Matthew King. So those are 4 of the attendees on the webinar right now. And if you have any information about what you're planning, I'd like to hear that.
Maybe we could get you. Do you have any questions yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. Well, maybe we could ask. I see. Maybe Susan has something to say, and Susan Brink, and then I see Jerry Say and Joe Harrison here. I'd like to hear what they're planning this year, if they want to tell everybody.
Susan?
Hold on, Susan. It's going to. There we go. Go ahead, Susan. Hate to put you on. Yep.
Hi, everybody. It's Susan Brink. We have some wonderful parties going on.
Can you give us a rundown? You may not have it in front of you. I've taken you by surprise, but general terms.
I do. I know this. It's Austin, Baltimore, Boston, Chicago, Cleveland, Detroit, Gainesville, Minneapolis, maybe Memphis, Nashville, Newark, New Orleans, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Tallahassee, and Washington, D.C. I think that's the list so far, and Ottawa. And some of those parties are not set in stone yet, but we're on it. We're on it with all of them, aren't we? And New York City.
We are.
Rochester.
We haven't gotten all the details yet. Friday is the deadline. I need to know the jazz heroes. I need to have high-res photos and the bios. And we're rolling. It's a tight timeline, but we're rolling. And some wonderful, wonderful parties are starting to happen. We just got word on the one in Ottawa.
I see that James Hale has jumped off the session, but as I said, he said that the university is getting behind that and they're going to help promote it.
Yeah, which is lovely.
Anybody on here who wants to make a comment or tell us what you're doing in your area, just raise your hand and then we'll call on you.
I think
Joe Harrison wants to. Okay, great. Joe, I think you're on.
Am I on?
Yep.
Hey, hello everyone. Well,
tell us where you are and give everybody a little background of what's going on.
Okay, I am in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Well, I live right outside Philly, but I'm basically in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I'm one of the iJazz students, and I'm a musician. I play percussion, but this year I'm excited. My pastor has given me the opportunity to have a concert on April 27th at Canaan Baptist Church. Gospel meets jazz. We have Brian Pugh is going to be coming, and he's the minister of music at Sharon Baptist Church. He also, I don't know if you know the gospel. In the gospel world, Richard Smallwood is pretty big, and he has Cedric Napoleon from the jazz band Pieces of a Dream, and then my little group is going to open up for them, and my choir at church is going to open up for us. So I'm excited about that. April 27th on Saturday at 4 o'clock at Canaan Baptist Church, and we're going to use this event to raise funds for our children's programs for the community. That's what we're trying to do.
That sounds great.
Are you doing that by asking for donations, Joe, or are you charging to get in?
I'm charging.
We really discourage that because we're trying to make it, inclusive.
But this is not an official satellite party, I don't think, is it?
Yeah, that's not a satellite party. This is my gig.
Okay.
This is my gig.
But
so we're going to try to take we took the kids to the Franklin Institute. It's like a big science center here. So we want to have a community science fair at church in our fellowship hall, and the proceeds from this is going to make that happen. No, it's not a satellite party. This is what I just happen to be doing for Jazz Appreciation Month, and I'm just going to try to combine the two.
That's great. And you're going to send me a picture of whoever's going to play or something in your church, right? So I can push the idea of doing.
I'm working on that now.
Okay, excellent.
I'm working on that right now. So I'm going to send you a little, video clip of who's going to be playing and what's happening.
Okay, sounds good. Jerry, you're on. Jerry, you still there?
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Great.
Can you hear me?
Yep. So tell us where you are and what you're doing this year,
Yeah, we're
and
in
what you've done in the past.
Okay, we're in Tallahassee. This will be our third year participating in the satellite party. And so we're looking forward to that. We've already named our hero, and I'm working on recognition from the city, the county, and then I'm going to start working here on the governor, see what I can do. On the 5th, we have a lot, I'm sorry, in April, we have a lot going on. We have A.T. and Charles coming in on the 5th, and then we have Scotty Barnhart actually playing on the 13th, doing a tribute to Clifford Brown. And then on that Monday, we'll have the actual local hero party, and that's free to our patrons and other people. We have kind of positioned ourselves as one of those guilty pleasure kind of activities as far as the club is concerned. So some people don't come because it's a little pricey for them. So this is an opportunity for people who've never been to come for free of charge, and also it helps us say thank you to our regular customers. We're going to have 2 jam sessions in April featuring some of the students here at FSU who go on to get really good working gigs at the end when they graduate. Just got a note from Leon Anderson, which I think I'm going to try to have published, talking about how their playing in the club gives them an edge when they graduate. When they get out into the world, they know what to do and how to handle themselves, and etc. So we're happy about that. We have something that we call a Dreamers Cafe. That's where the gospel folks come in and do kind of a motivational evening for people who have ideas and goals and need some support and some inspiration. That's turned into be very, very popular, very authentic kind of an experience. And then we'll have that watch party on the 30th that's also going to be free and open to the public. So we're looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun month. I'm also changing my website in anticipation and growing that a little bit, and I think that'll be fun. People will enjoy that.
And you're going to put the Jazz Appreciation Month and the JazzApril logos up there, right?
Correct. Yeah, I'm still building it, but it'll
Excellent.
be ready to roll out on the eve of the 1st of April. Yep.
Wow, that sounds great.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
George Rivera, I'm sorry, do you have more, Jerry?
Whoops, Jerry?
Yes?
Did I interrupt you?
No, I'm finished. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Sounds really great.
George Rivera has written to say, I'm in the process of setting up a weekly jazz listening party for the month of April in the Tampa Bay area at a local lounge, and a function at Universal City Walk for April 30th. So that sounds like that could be good too.
Yeah, really keep us, everybody who's doing stuff, keep us posted. Just you know, press release is a little hard to deal with, but if you send just an email to that jazzapril@jazzjournalist.org address, I'll get it. And, you know, especially if you include pictures or something, I can try to get it up on the Facebook page.
And try to connect with the JJA members who are in the area. I mean, in Tampa Bay, I think, we have Philip Booth also, who is a active jazz journalist and JJA member. You can sign up for the JazzApril email so that you get our updates. Maybe we should talk about sponsorship a little bit too. The JJA is beginning to post logos, live link logos, on the Jazz Heroes site for sponsors who, JazzApril site, for sponsors who want to promote themselves and give some support to us. And that's very useful for the JJA. I mean, since we're going to have a lesser Jazz Awards this year, we are not going to do big fundraising campaign around the Jazz Awards. So we're using the JazzApril thing to sort of extend, and we think that it's going to give very good visibility to our sponsors to put up, for instance, that's Jazz at Lincoln Center, Brother Thelonious, and
That's Jim Igo, Jazz Promo Services.
Oh, Jazz Promo Services. And Ed Treviziger's Jazz Week, which is a listserv that goes out to jazz radio stations all around the country. The Chicago Jazz Festival and the Jazz Institute of Chicago and Mosaic Records have all come in. So this is going to build up, we think, also more substantive support for the endeavor. It identifies them with the JJA. It identifies the JJA with them. It identifies everybody, again, with International Jazz Day and Jazz Appreciation Month. So we're really trying to build that out. If you have local businesses or philanthropists who want to have some visibility, and you send them to us, we can deal with the sponsorship situation. I'll tell you that the top most prominent and larger logos, these of Jazz at Lincoln Center, Brothers Thelonious, and Jazz Pommel Works, are $500 logos, sponsorships, and if they add a premium of $100, we'll carry the logos over to the Jazz Awards pages, which will go up on May 1st. And the smaller ones are $100, and if they add $50, we'll take them to the Jazz Awards pages. So these are 600 is what we're pushing. The smaller ones are 150 is what we're pushing. And, you know, if it's uncomfortable to you to make those kinds of sale calls, but you think you have sponsors who might go for it and want to be associated with your party, let me know. I'll try to do the call. I'm not shy when I'm at this distance from people. That would be another thing to do. You don't have to, but it's wonderful to raise some money for the JJA. And if we can raise enough money, we can take some of it back to buy a round if you run out of Brothers Thelonious. Or we can make sure you've got popcorn and potato chips at your parties or something like that. We are manufacturing the awards themselves. We are going to have mailing costs. So we have a little bit of overhead on this endeavor. And also you could try to get the JJA members. Just mention that we are a membership organization. We do things all year long. We can do a lot of consultation. I do a lot of personal consultation with journalists about problems or possibilities, potentials. We have a wonderful international, at this point, network of journalists that's been very active. We've got the web pages. We've got the monthly newsletters going out that tell everybody about each other's projects, the Jazz Awards that they can vote on, and so forth and so on. So I don't probably have to go into much detail about that. In fact, I've probably gone into enough. But don't be too self-effacing about your responsibilities here and the JJA's activities. We really are depending on you guys to carry some water for us the same way we're trying to promote your activities online.
And let me, can I jump in there? Yeah, we do. This is a completely unfunded project from our point of view so far. You know, except for, and some of these are pro bono. We have to be honest. Jazz at Lincoln Center is supporting us, and we're really pleased about that. So, but the other thing we have, and if your organization can possibly afford to become a supporter, which is the lower row, we really, really encourage you to do that. But if you can't, you can also become, we don't have it on here yet, but become what we're calling an endorser, which is that if your organization or Jerry, you know, B Sharps can certainly become an endorser, which just means that we're going to make a list of all the people who want to officially say, you know, yes, we are part of JazzApril, and we'll list you on the site here with a link, not your logo, but with a link, so that, you know, people know that we do extend out into the country and we think around the world too in some places. So if you can get people in your city, for instance, if you're having your party and you go to the radio station and they say, yeah, we think that's a great project, we're going to announce it on the air, we're going to talk about your party on the air, we're going to say it's part of JazzApril, they can be in the list too and let us know, You know, if you go to your local, you know, the place that you're holding the party, and they say, oh yeah, you know, we want to endorse JazzApril, we're in favor of that, we're going to, you know, hand out something to the people who come during April and say support jazz or whatever, let us know, and we'll put for your city or your location that these are the organizations and businesses that are endorsing JazzApril. And again, that's good for you because it makes it really clear that there's a network in your community that supports jazz, and it's good for us because it makes it clear that there's a lot of support for the campaign.
Let's go back to Dustin and ask if he's got some final thoughts, and then I'll ask Pauline.
Okay, well, in terms of this year's celebration and this year's cycle, I just wanted to let everyone know that I'm at work doing the same thing I did last year. And once you introduce yourself to the community, and the community knows that you have a jazz hero, you know, the community knows that there's a jazz hero among them, and then they will start to expect to see something around that time the next year. And so I'm following it up this year with steady communication, parties involved, and I always do things in an efficient, timely mannered production type of workflow pace. And so I can really, you know, if I can just recommend one thing, plan ahead. I mean, try to do this as early as possible, because people in the press and your newspaper will really appreciate it if you do not hand this off to them at the last minute. And that's your best bets at getting good coverage.
Good point. Good point. Pauline, final comments, thoughts?
I was just going to say something about what JazzBoston is doing during Jazz Week, which is during Jazz Month, to bring more recognition to jazz. I mean, we would be doing it because of Jazz Week in any case, but Jazz Week was scheduled always to be during Jazz Month. In fact, it always begins at the end of April. It's only the last couple of days that are in May. It's April 26th to May 5th this year. But we're doing a number of things to bring jazz to people, you know, that might not have otherwise heard it. Oh, and we're doing something with high school bands. It's something like what you said. One of our events, which will be at the public library in an auditorium that holds about 350, we're doing a kind of a blowout concert of high school, 5 or 6 local high school jazz bands. And as we've invited them, we've gotten a huge reception. It'll be open to the public, and it will be free because it's at the library. And basically, I mean, it will at least show people that there are young people really, there are young people who are carrying on jazz. I mean, jazz is far from dead. And this should draw crowds and should make that impression. We're also doing a number of things in public places. We have one group doing saxophone swarms, large groups of saxophones at South Station, our main station here, for 5 days during the week at lunchtime. So hundreds and hundreds of people pass, because it's the main station, and hear jazz and stop and listen and just hear
Pauline,
it for a couple minutes.
Sorry, I hate to interrupt,
yes.
but you have to have somebody video that and send me a video of it. That will be wonderful.
All right. I can find someone who will do it pro bono. I'd love to. Of which, you mean the swarms, or the saxophone swarms in the station, or the high school? Yeah. Well, I'd love to get someone to video it.
We'll see if we can help you with that.
Oh, if you can find anyone who'll do it, we'd love it. And who will edit it too, not just shoot it. So we're doing, as we've done for several years, on the kickoff day of Jazz Week on the Friday afternoon, we have groups, student ensembles from the New England Conservatory who do concerts in high-traffic public places all over the city, in 1 or 2 of the biggest shopping centers, you know, outdoors at Downtown Crossing. It's basically the shopping area here. So we do those in 5 or 6 places. And we're doing something new this year that encouraging people all over the greater Boston area to do home concerts, and we're going to help them do that, where they'd invite friends and neighbors, because it's a very intimate way to introduce people to jazz and introduce them to jazz musicians. And we've started to have some responses from people who are actually willing to host those. And another thing is we've tried to draw restaurants in every year. It's all, to get people everywhere that they are, and we have, and I guess every town has something like it, the Greater Boston Convention and Tourist Bureau. And the other years we did a Chef's Jam for Jazz Week, and we had restaurants that created special Jazz Week menus. It was kind of like Restaurant Week that a lot of cities have, very much like it. Special Jazz Week menus that were jazz themed and at special prices. And this year we're thinking to do that. We should have had it organized by now, but we don't yet. But just on International Jazz Day, to make it a little simpler to handle, to get restaurants to do some sort of an international, and jazz-themed menu, and maybe even bring in jazz. So those are some of the special things, that we're doing to call attention to jazz during that period.
That's very impressive.
I guess that's
And you have a wonderful organization that you've worked very, very hard to build up. And of course, we named Pauline a jazz hero just last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we've tried to give you a little bit of recognition too for that. But events don't have to be grandiose. If you don't have that much organization, you don't have that big a jazz scene, start at whatever level you've got. Bring a few people together to talk about the music, to enjoy it. Try to get them to bring a few more people who don't know that much about it, and let's try to make a mountain out of a molehill in the situation where you've got molehills. This music is just foundational in American culture, and every rock and roll band, if they have a good musician in the band, that musician is a jazz fan. What else could they be to learn how to improvise even a guitar rock solo? So the music is there underneath so much of what we hear that's produced in this country. Your businesses probably like it. People that you don't know like it, probably like it. And, just have a little conversation with them. Even conversing is media. You're just trying to carry the word around and get people to increase the buzz about this music, about your own local activities. The dissemination of jazz, the decentralization of it is every bit as important as having an international event coming out of Istanbul or Paris or New Orleans or New York. So don't be modest about what you've got. This is a chance to blow your own horn, so to speak. Joanne, do you have any final send-offs?
Nope. Just please, keep the information and the photos and the videos and whatever you have, press clippings. If you get local coverage, please just send it to us at JazzApril@jazzjournalist.org, or my admin address. I really don't care. And try to think of this as an event that we're all working on together, so we can make a big splash all together, even though it's happening in a lot of different places.
Susan Brink is the point person for a lot of this, and her email is susan@jazzjournalist.org. And remember, if you want help trying to get a proclamation, let her know, and we'll turn this avaricious proclamation getter, Jason, onto the problem. So we can give you some support that way. Other kinds of support that you might want for your events, we're willing to consider giving it. I don't know if we'll have the support that you need, but we'll try. So don't hesitate to reach out to Susan, to Joanne, to me, and to each other, for ideas. Let's use this webinar tonight as a first meeting of a circle of presenters and supporters, and let's hope that we see you again talking about this and maybe the results. Okay, I am exhausted, and I hope that you guys have had some information that's useful from this. I want to thank Pauline Bilsky and Dustin Garlitz and Joanne Kaywell and everybody who attended. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email us and let us know what is going on in your area with JazzApril in April. Thanks again, everybody. I'm going to say good night for now.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night, Howard.
Good night, Pauline. Good night, Dustin.
Good night, Howard.